was only one chance left.
Onaga the Dragon King is probably one of the strongest characters, if not the strongest character in the Mortal Kombat universe. He is a true villain in every sense, as he wants to take over the world as well as gain immortality, probably to rule forever. The Dragon King is so powerful, he is pretty much impervious to damage from other people across the realms, even making the Elder Gods fear him. Onaga was the first ruler of Outworld, long before Shao Kahn ever entered the scene. He waged wars and kept pushing himself to get stronger and stronger as time passed. Naturally, he also started being perceived as a threat by many. The first time we see Onaga being introduced in the Mortal Kombat franchise is when he is resurrected in Mortal Kombat Deception. Having been poisoned by his general Shao Kahn and out of the picture for many years, he was now back to reclaim all that was his. The first thing he did was wipe out Raiden, Shinnok, and Quan Chi. He took control of his immortal undead army that Shao Kahn had unsuccessfully tried to control and moved to take his throne of ruler of Outworld once again. Soon after this, he resurrects the Earthrealm defenders who died fighting the Deadly Alliance and places them under his command. So clearly, just from these events alone, we know that Onaga is ridiculously powerful, so much that Shao Kahn knew better than to fight him head on. His immortal army was recognized as a valuable asset for anyone planning to take over the realms. His skills in magic, as well as the dark art of necromancy, is unparalleled in the Mortal Kombat universe. But where did Onaga come from? What was he doing before he was poisoned by Shao Kahn? How was he resurrected? There's actually a lot of history to this guy, so let's dive right into his origin. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. So thank you, and let's begin.
Onaga, former
Exploring the backstory of the Dragon King. Years ago, Onaga was a supreme force in Outworld. He had a thirst for growing his powers indefinitely and wanted to rule the whole world. This started with him taking over Outworld. For this, he created an army of well-trained and disciplined soldiers who would follow and obey his every command. As I mentioned before, while training to grow his powers, Onaga discovered his talents at necromancy. This was what made his army so ridiculously strong. Anytime a soldier would fall in battle, Onaga would simply resurrect them. Thus, his army would wage wars across the realm and allow him to finally take over Outworld. Onaga's goal, however, remained unchanged. Despite being as powerful as he was well aware he could technically still die. This is something he wanted to change by gaining immortality. His belief at the time was that if he bathed in the blood of an infant dragon, he would gain unending life. This is precisely why he had saved and kept a dragon egg hidden far away for later. I should mention that the Elder Gods, seeing how powerful Onaga was becoming, considered him to be another vessel for the One Being's return. Obviously, they didn't want this because all the One Being ever did was hunt and eat the Elder Gods. So millennia ago, these gods used their combined powers to split their physical body of the One Being into different parts. Later, these parts of him would develop into the realms as we know them. The Kamidogu were essential here because they are what kept the realms separate, but at the same time, they could be used to merge them back together. Consider them to be keys to a lock almost. Over the years, we can see that despite the One Being having no physical body anymore, his consciousness remained. And over the eons, he would try to persuade many people to try and merge the realms together so that he could return. However, Onaga had some next level mental fortitude as he kept the One Being at bay. His goal hadn't shifted from ruling the world and gaining immortality. Since Onaga very clearly defined the One Being so well, he shifted his efforts to Shao Kahn, who at the time was a general under Onaga. This is precisely why Shao Kahn poisoned his king, because he was influenced by the One Being to remove Onaga from the picture. Shao was persuaded to want to merge the realms and become the ruler of the Outworld. This is where the first game of the franchise came in, and why Shao Kahn is the first villain of the series and not Onaga. However, this was not the end of Onaga. When Onaga was killed by Shao Kahn, he managed to house his physical being inside the dragon egg in Outworld. His consciousness also remained intact. Onaga now merely waited for the right moment to return and restart his fight for his dominion. But strong as Onaga was in life and in death, he could not escape the One Being's influence. So while Onaga no longer had his physical body, his mind and consciousness were persuaded, just like Shao Kahn, to merge the realms together and become all-powerful.
I am Onaga, the Dragon King of Outworld and soon to be ruler of all that exists.
Onaga as the main antagonist in Mortal Kombat Deception. In Mortal Kombat Deception, we see that he tries to collect all the Kamidogu and merge the realms, so that he may obtain great power. This is because the One Being's influence finally got to him. But clearly, this was not something that he was aware of because he still believed that he was trying to obtain his goal of immortality, albeit in a completely different way now. What's interesting is the way that Onaga manages to do this. Considering that he is still physically dead, Onaga managed to project his consciousness as a ball of pure energy into the Earth realm. There he came across a monk who was very determined to do the right thing, the typical hero wannabe type. Nonetheless, this monk Shujinku was quite skilled in martial arts and other skills. This is probably why Onaga chose him, that and the fact that he was young and gullible. So at the time, we see that Onaga's consciousness was portrayed as Damashi or Shujinku, a red orb of light apparently sent down from the heavens to this one man as proof of his hard work. Damashi introduced himself as a messenger of the Elder Gods. He explained that Shujinku was chosen by them to carry out an important task, and in doing so, he would be rewarded with great knowledge. A young and naive Shujinku immediately got on board with the whole thing. Damashi then started telling him the specifics. Shujinku was required to obtain all the Kamidogus from across the realms and bring them together for Damashi. Shujinku never hesitated and immediately began to get to work. He would then spend most of his life after that point in pursuit of the Kamidogus, thinking he was working for some divine cause. Not just that, but he would actually be successful in this task. Now, none of this would be useful at all if Onaga didn't have his physical form. Remember when I said that he had placed his physical form inside the dragon egg? Yeah, that came in handy real soon. On a separate note, we see that Nitara and Reptile become partners in order to save their respective realms. Reptile wants to separate his original realm and revive his people, while Nitara wants the same for her kind. So the unlikely pair become a team for a very short duration. They make their way into the volcano chamber in Outworld, where the orb separating the worlds is placed. However, Nitara immediately destroys the orb, separating her vampire realm from Outworld, and leaves Reptile behind. The dazed and confused Saurian then accidentally stumbles upon the dragon egg. The second this happens, Onaga projects his physical being into Reptile. At the same time, he pushes Reptile's psyche to the back of his mind and takes full control of his body, transforming him into his former self, and thus Onaga the Dragon King returned. Now that Shao Kahn was not in the scene anymore and that Liu Kang was dead, Onaga figured this would be the perfect time to conquer the world. No one was strong enough to stop him, and he knew Shujinko was successfully collecting Kamidogu for him as well. So he walked right into his tomb where the Deadly Alliance had gathered and destroyed Quan Chi, Shang Tsung, and Raiden. Yes, this dragon man single-handedly wiped out the three strongest characters at that particular time without even getting a scratch. His undead army, which was placed in some type of coma since being reawakened, rose to take orders from their king once again. However, before this could happen, Raiden, in a last-ditch effort to destroy Onaga, sacrificed himself to create a blast of magical energy. This was pretty much in vain because Onaga remained completely unaffected by it, but his army was reduced to ashes, and Quan Chi and Shang Tsung were also presumed dead. In the next cutscene, we see Onaga picking up the amulet that Quan Chi was holding on to. This is when Onaga would go on and reveal his true identity to Shujinku, while boasting and gloating in his triumph in the fact that he used Shujinku for his own selfish gains. Onaga was unaware of what the old sage was up to. After realizing what he had done, Shujinku went across the realms using the knowledge that he had gathered over the years to collect other realm fighters to defend the world against Onaga. Shujinku managed to recruit Ermac, Nightwolf, and Liu Kang's spirit to aid him in his fight. Finally, they were able to rush into Onaga's stronghold. Shujinku was able to channel channel all the other fighters' powers into one single attack with a fist and pound Onaga into the ground, sending his soul out of Reptile's body. Onaga was taken to the Nether Realm by Night, who knew that Onaga would not stop there and used the ancient Native American ritual known as the Sin Eater to bind Onaga's soul to that world. However, this spell would be broken in the following game, Mortal Kombat Armageddon. Between the events of Deception and Armageddon, Shinnok would visit Onaga and give him a choice. Join him in the Battle of Armageddon, ensure his triumph, and in return, Onaga may become the ruler of the Outworld once again. He would then accept Shinnok's offer because he had no other option, but once he was liberated, he would come up with his own strategy. Onaga had no idea of the Armageddon conflict or the strength that the Blaze possessed. However, after hearing the specifics from Shinnok, he decided he too desired this power for himself because he thought it would give him strength to match the Kamidogu. From this point on, Onaga does make a very fleeting appearance in the Conquest mode where he is seen forging an alliance with Shao Kahn and the Deadly Alliance because they are all obviously drawn to the power of the Blaze, and while they do work well together on the surface level, they plan on stabbing each other in the back eventually. As a result, as the Battle of Armageddon starts, all bets are off, the alliance breaks down, and Onaga turns his attention to Shao Kahn, still understandably enraged by his former adversary for his betrayal. Thus, the Dragon King carries the Emperor off, and that is actually the last time we get a good look at Onaga. Shao Kahn managed to escape his clutches, return to the Pyramid of Argus, absorb the power of the fire elemental flame, and essentially become the One Being, which ended the fight and the realm. The specifics of how exactly he managed to escape Onaga are still unknown to us all.
This will be broken.
Onaga in Mortal Kombat 11. Considering that Raiden went back in time and altered the events of the future, Onaga's fate in the original timeline is unknown, and whether or not Shao Kahn killed him in that particular battle is left open-ended, so we will never truly know. Okay, we know that this wasn't the end of the timeline. In the new timeline, only Shao Kahn was allowed to go, which brings us to the series reboot, where the Dragon King is unfortunately missing. You see, Onaga only actually makes an appearance in a flashback scene that takes place in the main narrative, the one that ties Armageddon to the very first tournament, so the start of Mortal Kombat 9. From there, Onaga makes only brief cameos and name-dropping appearances in arcade ladder endings and intros until disappearing entirely from the rebooted timeline. There are, however, a few fragments of info that have come to light from the rebooted chronology that provide some insight into what transpired with the Onaga incarnation. Now, it is indicated in various dialogue and introductions that Shao Kahn not only succeeded Onaga as the new ruler of Outworld, but also acquired some of his power. This is evident in Shao Kahn's appearance in Mortal Kombat 9, where his armor is very much like dragon scales and spikes. In Mortal Kombat 11, Shao Kahn even develops scales across his body. The dragon resemblance is now also apparent in his skin, not just his armor anymore. It is reasonable to assume that he absorbed some of Onaga's physical characteristics in addition to his abilities. Now, Onaga was actually planned to make a comeback in Mortal Kombat X comic book series because during the first storyline, Prince Goro would lose his arms to Kotal Kahn and would seek a solution by forging an alliance with the Red Dragon criminal organization because they did worship Onaga. Goro was in fact the person chosen to serve as the new host for the Dragon King in the rebooted comic book series, but sadly the comic book series was never renewed for a second season. Thus, this storyline and concept would be abandoned. Goro is discovered dead on Shang Tsung's island despite joining forces with the Red Dragon clan, Dagon and Onaga in the Mortal Kombat 10 comics. Although Onaga is frequently alluded to in the game, he never actually appears. Onaga's talents are still used by the youthful Shao Kahn, who works for Kronika, according to Raiden, but Katana remains unconcerned. The Dragon King is rumored to be making a comeback at some point in the future, but most fighters believe they are prepared and ready to face him. The mighty Dragon King Onaga himself emerged only to be killed by the new time god Kung Lao, who created this timeline and is now known as the Warrior Supreme. In Kung Lao's MK11 ending, where the great Kung Lao's warrior ancestor, only lived and won the Earthrealm Mortal Kombat tournament against Prince Goro of the Shao Kahn people, and a giant statue of him built in his honor at the Colosseum with the now utopian Outworld. how Shao Kahn took over the Outworld from Onaga. Shao Kahn was in charge of Outworld in Mortal Kombat 2, but the series didn't start telling his whole background until the Dragon King Onaga was introduced in Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. The majority of the story was then revealed in Mortal Kombat Deception, where Onaga was the final boss. This was then explored in more detail over the course of the next Mortal Kombat games. A race of dragons once lived in the Mortal Kombat universe at some unspecified time in the past. They are all believed to have resided in Outworld and to be the immediate ancestors of the Elder Gods, except for Onaga, who was able to unify the realm under his leadership. All eventually vanished. Next, Onaga gathered his forces and ordered them to launch a full-scale assault on the Netherrealm. After a while, his efforts were successful, and his troops went on to the other Mortal Kombat realms. Onaga simultaneously desired for immortality. The dragons lost their immortal lives after living among humans for so long. He planned to get that power by consuming the blood of a young dragon. Unfortunately for the Dragon King, Shao Kahn, his dependable counselor, had grown very weary on standing by his side. Onaga was poisoned by Shao Kahn, who then seemed to kill him. This gave Kahn the opportunity to seize control of Outworld, grow into one of Mortal Kombat's most notorious antagonists, and eventually combine it with Edenia. Of course, Onaga was never truly dead, as the games have shown. Kahn faced a number of challenges as a result of his comeback, but he eventually defeated his former master during the events of Mortal Kombat Armageddon. The Outworld's monarchy was then restored to Shao Kahn before the Mortal Kombat timeline ruptured. What makes Onaga so powerful? One of the most powerful characters in the entire Mortal Kombat series seems to be Onaga. Overall, his power is unclear, but as Shao Kahn chose to poison Onaga rather than confront him, it can be assumed that he has enough might that even Shao Kahn feared doing so. When Onaga possessed the Kamidogu, it was almost impossible to halt, making any direct conflict with him nearly impossible. This was demonstrated when he attempted to be stopped by the combined might of Earth's Thunder God Raiden and the two most powerful sorcerers Shang Tsung and Quan Chi. As he moved closer to them, the explosions from all three only served to distance him. Raiden's self-destruct blast was insufficient to completely destroy him, leaving little to no visible damage. As a dragon, Onaga has the ability to fly, produce strong gusts of wind with his wings, and throw fireballs from his mouth. He also has necromantic abilities which he used to give his army the reputation of being invincible. Onaga can generate an avatar of himself wherever he wishes, which suggests that he may be magical in some way. We know he used this skill to spread his control over Shujinku for many years while also exhibiting his shrewdness and cunning nature. Onaga had defeated all of the other warriors in his deception ending and had therefore succeeded in becoming the one being. Another indication of how things turned out was the fact that even the Elder Gods themselves were powerless in his face and fled in terror. Later it was discovered in the Mortal Kombat X comic series that he also had regenerative powers, including the capacity to grow a hand back after it had been severed. Goro sought out this power to rebuild his own arms after losing them to Kotal Kahn in combat. Marvelous verdict. If it hasn't been made obvious enough yet, Onaga is one of the most ridiculously powerful characters in all Mortal Kombat history. A Dragon King in its truest sense, scaring even the Elder Gods and protecting his mind from the One Being. This ruler of Outworld is a force to be reckoned with. That's all for this video here today, but please let me know in the comment section below what you'd like to see next a history of, or what other franchise we can cover. As always, it's been a pleasure, and we will see you in the next one. And if you liked our content, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. And in the meantime, have a good one, be safe, and thank you all.